All right, so y'all go ahead and do the factoring and the math knowledge question for today. Pause the video, and then once everyone is finished, you can unpause the video, and I'll go over the correct answers. So for the factoring, you should have x minus 10 times x plus 2. For the math knowledge question, which of the following describes all points that are 3 centimeters away from a given point? That's going to be a circle. We're going to learn about circles later in the year, but that's the definition. You go out a certain distance from a point in all directions, and that creates a circle. And it's with a 3 centimeter radius, because the distance from the center to the outside is 3. Okay, so we're looking at lesson 21 today. We're going to be looking at the laws of detachment and syllogism. So detachment is this word. Syllogism is this word. So hopefully you'll understand these laws after this lesson. Deductive reasoning. We've talked about inductive reasoning. That's where you look at past information and you base your conclusion on what you've seen in the past. Deductive reasoning is where you use logic to draw conclusions from given facts, definitions, and properties. So let's look here, and we want to use deductive reasoning to write a therefore concluding statement. All of Martha's children have blue eyes. Blaine is Martha's son. Therefore, remember, therefore, we can use this little mathematical symbol, or you can write out therefore. But therefore, what could we conclude? Blaine has blue eyes. Okay, so that's how you can use deductive reasoning. Let's look at B. Simon wears blue and red on game days. Today is game day. Therefore, what do we know? Simon is wearing blue and red because it's a game day. Okay, looking at this next one. To check out a book from the library, you must have a library card. Alex checked out a book from the library. Therefore, what can we conclude about Alex? Alex has a library card. So that's how you can use deductive reasoning. For the law of detachment, for two statements P and Q, when you have if P then Q is a true statement, and they tell you that P is true, that means that Q is also going to be true. So that's the law of detachment. If P then Q is true, and P is true, then Q must also be true. So let's look at an example how we're going to use it. If a number is greater than 0, then it is positive. 5 is greater than 0. Therefore, that means that 5 is positive. So that's how that one would work. For the next one, when Amy visits her aunt makes muffins. Amy is visiting her aunt today. Therefore, what can we conclude? Her aunt will make muffins. Okay, so y'all try C real quick by yourself. I get paid every Friday. Today is Friday. Therefore, I get paid today. So that's how you can use the law of detachment. Now we're going to look at the law of syllogism. It says if P then Q and if Q then R are both true statements, then if P then R is also a true statement. So if we have if P then Q and if Q then R, and those are true, we can make a new statement if P then R. So we're going to use the law of syllogism to write a third conditional statement. If the wind blows from the north, then the temperature will drop. If the temperature drops, then Naifong will need to wear a jacket. So we can say if the wind blows from the north, then a Fong will need to wear a jacket. And that's how you can use the law of syllogism. So they're not difficult. You just have to be familiar with what you do with them. You also have to know which one is which. Sometimes it'll ask you to tell which is using detachment and which is using syllogism. So looking here, we want to draw a valid conclusion and identify which law was used. So 10 dimes are worth $1. $1 is worth 100 cents. So what could we conclude? We could say 10 dimes are worth 100 cents. And which law did we use? The law of syllogism. Okay? Looking at this next one. A car requires an oil change every 3,000 miles. Jamal's car has been driven 9,000 miles since its last oil change. Therefore, what? Jamal's car needs an oil change. And which law did we use here? The law of detachment. Okay, now we're going to look at one more. All tigers are cats and all cats are carnivores. So that means that all tigers are carnivores. And which law is that using? The law of syllogism. So if you're still having trouble figuring out which one is which, usually on the law of syllogism, there's going to be a part that is repeated, and you mark it out and you write the other parts. So if you look at C, all tigers are cats and all cats are carnivores. So all tigers are carnivores. For A, 10 dimes are worth $1 and $1 is worth 100 cents. So 10 dimes are worth 100 cents. So that's how you can maybe help see law of syllogism. We're going to look at some practice problems. So y'all try these two and then y'all unpause the video and I'll go over them. So we want to form a concluding statement. All the girls on the swim team are left-handed. Larissa is on the swim team. Therefore, Larissa is left-handed. Okay? For B, when it is below 32 degrees for at least a week, the pond freezes. It has been below 32 degrees for a week. Therefore, the pond is frozen. So that would be your answer for those two. Okay, so let's try these two now. Y'all pause the video and try these and then I'll go over them. When every answer on a math test is correct, a student will get a perfect score on the test. Michael got every answer correct on the last math test. Therefore, Michael got a perfect score on the test. Let's look at one more. When an employee works more than 40 hours in a week, they get paid overtime. Dominiqua worked 43 hours this week. So the conclusion that you would say, therefore, Dominiqua got paid overtime. So that's how those two would work. Okay, so let's look at this one. Use the law of detachment to write a valid conclusion. If the gift I bought for my cousin is a toy truck, then it has 4 wheels. The gift I bought for my cousin is a toy truck. So y'all make a conclusion. Pause the video real quick. So therefore, the gift has 4 wheels. That's the conclusion you would make. Okay? We're going to look at another one. Write a third conditional statement using the law of syllogism. If Nafisa enrolls in an elective, then she will enroll in orchestra. If Nafisa enrolls in orchestra, then she will play the violin this semester. So y'all pause the video to write your answer. Okay? So your answer should be, if Nafisa enrolls in an elective, then she will play the violin this semester. So that would be your answer for that one. Looking at these two, y'all see if y'all can do them by yourselves, and then unpause the video and I'll go over it. So the conclusion, if I oversleep, I will miss my bus. If I miss my bus, I will be late for my appointment. If I oversleep, tomorrow morning, then I will be late for my appointment. Okay? Which law did we use for this one? Did we use the law of syllogism or the law of detachment? We used the law of syllogism. Okay? Looking at the last 2 practice problems, y'all try these by yourself and then unpause the video and I'll go over it. If a gumble is hungry, it craves gloop. If a gumble craves gloop, he must hunt for gloop. So if a gumble is hungry, then he must hunt for gloop. And this was using the law of syllogism. If a vehicle is a unicycle, then it has only 1 wheel. This vehicle is a unicycle. Therefore, this vehicle has only 1 wheel. And that would be using the law of detachment. So hopefully you were able to get most of those correct. We're going to look at our challenge question for today. Sometimes you may need to order your statements to determine the conclusion. So order these so that the conclusion of each is the hypothesis of the next, and then determine the conclusion. So y'all pause the video and think about this one, and then unpause it and I'll go over it. So the first one should be, if the Falcons score, the game is over. If the game is over, Brad will come home. If Brad comes home, he will open the cage, and if the cage is open, the bird will fly out. So the conclusion is the Falcons scored. That's the last one that you would do. So, or that's what it tells us at the end. So our conclusion, if the game is over, he comes home, he will open the door to the cage, and then if the cage is open, the bird will fly out. So since the Falcons scored, the conclusion is the bird flew out. So that would be your conclusion for the challenge question. So your homework is 1 through 30. So make sure that y'all do that tonight so we can go over your questions tomorrow.